facing. So we know that we are facing that, and election integrity is foundational to our free and fair elections. So this has garnered a lot of interest and concern. But I do believe people are waking up. So I'm grateful for this particular speaker series tonight. Thank you for joining us. And I want to thank the intrepid team that we have that always puts these events together. I want to thank Sherry Gillis, our webmaster, Golden State Republican Women webmaster. I want to thank also Kaylee Komatsu, who worked on publicity for this. So thank you, Kaylee. Nancy Wofford, who is third vice president, political and campaign activities. It's going to be a very busy year for her. And our hostess tonight, Gretchen Cox, who is first vice president in charge of programs. So appropriately, I'm going to turn this program over to her. And again, hope you enjoy it, learn a lot, and I thank you all for coming.
Thanks, President Janet. I appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you all with us tonight. This is an extended version of our Zoom speaker series. We will go till 8 o'clock tonight because we have 3 special speakers. Before we get to introducing our speakers, I just want to remind you of a few things. First of all, a couple of upcoming events that I want to make sure you're all aware of. And I want to direct you to go to the website at www.gsrw.com to register. We have this coming Saturday, February 3rd at 9 a.m. We have a conversation with Evelyn Nunez-Jones and Derek Silver. They're going to be talking about their activities as part of Trump's campaign team. And also, both of them have been at Mar-a-Lago, and they're going to give you some inside scoop on the workings of the Trump organization. On March 12th, please mark your calendars. I know that's a little ways away, but I want you to mark your calendars. We're going to have Kimberly Fletcher, who is the co-founder and president of Moms for America, speaking to us on that evening. So mark your calendars for that. That announcement and sign up opportunity on the website will be up probably within the next week. And then I just want to make you all aware that we are planning a leadership training event coming up. It will be sometime in mid-April. We're not quite ready to announce all the details yet. It will be in Los Angeles. It will be a one-day event. So I just want to make you aware of it so you can kind of set the middle of the month aside, the 12th or 13th, and just have something fun to look forward to. Having said all that, I do want to ask you all to please remember to keep yourselves muted. We are recording this tonight as we do all of our Zooms. So when there's background noise, people talking or a TV going or a dog barking, it kind of interferes with our recording. So please do remember that unless you're speaking, you should be muted. We appreciate you paying attention to that. If you have questions for our speakers tonight, please put them in the chat box. You'll find that along the bottom of your screen generally. You can put your question there, and when our speakers are done, Nancy Wofford, our third vice president, and I will go through and ask as many of those questions as we have time for. So please do that. We do plan to finish at 8 o'clock tonight. And with that, I will introduce our speakers. Our speakers tonight are all focused on programs within California, targeted on registering Republicans and getting out the vote. First, we'll hear from Krista Pittman, the field and political director for the California Republican Party. Krista began her political journey as a junior political coordinator for the San Diego Republican Party. In 2016, she was Congressman Darrell Iss's deputy field director during his re-election campaign. In her current position, she helped flip 3 seats from Democrat to Republican at the state and federal level And she also played a big part in securing 4 House seats for California, the highest number of new Republican congressional seats of any state in the last election. We're also going to hear from Ryan May. Ryan is the Orange County Republican Party field director. Ryan started as an intern for the Orange County GOP in 2018, and he became field director during the Gavin Newsom recall. He works to recruit, train, and organize volunteers across Orange County. Our third, last but certainly not least speaker is Karen Sewell. She is the Orange County Republican Party Election Integrity Officer, and she works to find, train, and schedule volunteers for observing elections, not only at polling centers, but also with the Registrar of Voters locations when the votes are counted. And even though 2 of our speakers are from Orange County, the work they do is typical of what's going on around the state. So if you're in another county, don't feel like this doesn't apply to you. They're going to be speaking, everything they're going to talk about tonight applies to all of us around the state, and you can get more details from your own central committee, and Krista will have some information about that too. So we'll have a lot of important information tonight. I hope you have pen and paper ready, and be sure and be ready to ask some questions at the end of this. And with that, I'll turn it over to Krista Pittman from the California Republican Party.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gretchen. Again, for those who don't already know me, my name is Krista Pittman. So I'm the California Republican Party's political and deputy executive director. On top of my normal day-to-day working at the state party, I actually also work for the national party, where I do oversee our election integrity program, serving as the official California State Election Integrity Director. Some of the other things to just give you a little more context. So obviously in 2018, I actually also worked for the Republican National Committee in DC. And in that role, I was actually able to participate in a lot of, we used to call it EDO, election day operations, but we all know we're in California, our elections take 30 days to get certified. But I spent a lot of time down in Florida working in the Broward County recount. And so that was that first real taste of election integrity that I got to be a part of. And ever since then, I mean, it's been such a exciting and really, really important operation that we have to run, obviously in California, but across the nation for that matter. And so again, I'm really thrilled to be here with you guys and talking about election integrity and just some of the other things that we're doing from the state level and even on the national level, and just for everything that you guys are going to be doing to be contributing to all of our efforts, protecting the vote, and of course, helping elect Republicans up and down the ballot. I always start every single training session or every single panel that I do with, we are Republicans. We are the Republican Party. Our main goal at the end of the day is to help elect Republicans, and every single thing that we're doing is just geared towards that. And I know Ryan in Orange County and Karen also in Orange County, they have been such amazing partners. For those who reside in Orange County, you are in such great hands. Again, they have been such phenomenal partners to us. And as we approach the 2024 primary, and I think, Gretchen, you already mentioned this, but it's so crucial that we recognize how pivotal a role of voter confidence is going to be in ensuring that voters actually cast their ballot for obviously the presidential primary, but also the general election. And as you all know, in California, the road to holding the House majority runs right through us. Right now, we have a 2-seat House majority. In 2020, we picked up 4 seats, and then last cycle we picked up 1 seat. So when we pick up 5 seats, no one can say that we did not help make that House majority. And in 2022, just a little bit about some of our election integrity efforts. So we actually, the state party and the RNC, partnered together to operate a statewide election integrity program in California. And that was actually the first time that we have ever had that in our state's history. We actually had a full-time staffer on the ground working statewide, along with a legal counsel, and nearly 1,800 volunteers were shifted in the state of California who were just dedicated poll watchers and poll workers too. And they were observing throughout early voting at the county registrar of voters and then on election day. And now this cycle, and this is actually the first time in RNC history, they actually have their own full-time permanent election integrity department. So previously, the RNC was actually not allowed to engage in any election integrity operations. They had a consent decree, so we were not allowed to engage. In 2022, that was actually lifted, but they were under the political department. So now we've seen a permanent department who's actually ran by attorneys. They're ran by folks who have had extensive experience in election operations. And so our main objective at the national perspective and on the national level, which goes down to the states, is really three main things that we're focused on. We want to build an election integrity volunteer organization to monitor elections. And so what that means is we're going to be focused on recruiting, training, and shifting volunteer poll observers throughout early voting at the county registrar of voters, the post-election canvass. And like I said at the beginning, right, our elections don't get certified until up to 30 days after the election. So you have all of that period post-election, but also everyone is getting a ballot 29 days before an election. So we have a very extended period where we need to be shifting and training and getting volunteers engaged throughout the state and also in Orange County. And then also we want to partner with different Republican grassroots coalitions to achieve our goals of recruiting, training, and shifting. We are limited in numbers and we have to all work together. And that's also why I'm so excited to be on this call with you guys so we can start working towards our goals on that front. And also, really important piece that we're really focused on is recruiting Republicans to serve as poll workers. So not just volunteer poll observers, but poll workers, identifying folks who will actually be employed by the county registrar of voters. And then also the second pillar of our three-pillared priority list is execute a proactive legal strategy. So as I said, we had our own legal counsel in California in 2022. We have our SAM legal counsel who will be here with us in 2024, excuse me. And all of our legal strategy, all of our operations are actually being overseen by RNC National Committee woman and top national attorney, Harmeet Dillon. So she worked with us to litigate when election officials are not following the law, or we just, when we need to intervene to defend any election integrity laws. So that is going to be a big focus. You'll actually see in about 13 counties, there'll be paid attorneys. In the remainder counties, we have 58 counties. Those will also have volunteer attorneys assigned to each county. So again, we're really dedicated and really focused on having attorneys throughout the state who are familiar with the election laws and can help us as poll observers or help us as staff resolve any issues and give us the proper guidance that we need to execute. And then lastly, our last priority is strengthening voter confidence through an aggressive communications and education campaign. So we want to make sure that voters know the process. They know when ballots are going to be dropped. They know when their ballot will start to get processed and what it just looks like on election day. And so those are some of the things that we're really pushing. Also, the different ways that you could vote. Actually in 2020 or 2022, I think a lot of us thought that there was going to be a huge Republican wave and we didn't have that big wave. And so now it's really just a big priority to make sure people know these are all the different ways that you can vote. And I'll go into a little bit later, but we actually launched in partnership with the Republican National Committee a Bank Your Vote program, which actually goes hand in hand with the election integrity program that we call Protect Your Vote. And so at the end of the day, like I said, we are the Republican Party. We need to win our races. And for Republicans to win, we have to strengthen voter confidence. Voters need to know that their ballot is going to be counted before committing to vote, either that's voting early by mail or voting early in person or just on election day. But we have to make sure that we're increasing voter confidence and that voters know that their vote is going to be protected. So Protect Your Vote, again, is the election integrity wing of our program. And then Bank Your Vote is just promoting and encouraging voters to get out and vote as soon as they can. And in 2024, this cycle, again, like I've been saying, the RNC and the state party, we're really committed to restoring the faith in the electoral process. And we're going to do that by building the most well-trained, just the largest, most robust election integrity organization that we've ever had. And we've really been working towards this before the start of this year, but just in this year alone, it's January 30th. So the last 30 days, we've actually already started to recruit almost 1,000 poll observers and poll workers. And so we've been working really hard to identify the folks that are interested in doing that. We've actually already held over 30 trainings in the last 4 weeks, and we've actually had almost nearly 1,000 attendees at our different trainings. So we are not slowing down. The momentum is extremely high, and we even hosted our very first ever Protect Your Vote Academy last Thursday. So again, we're really excited, and we're working really hard to build this really strong, robust infrastructure to make sure that we are helping elect more Republicans, and that voters know that their vote is going to be protected. And also on the RNC level, they've actually invested in 12 different states to have election integrity directors. And so, as I said, I'm serving in that capacity for the RNC for California. And again, everyone really knows that California is so important in holding the House majority, which is why they've really focused on making sure we have the resources, whether that's attorneys, whether that's staff, to be successful this coming election cycle. And then heading into the 2024 primary, I just want to touch a little bit more on the Bank Your Vote program. And so the Bank Your Vote program is just really dedicated to making sure that Republicans get out and vote, because we need to increase voter turnout. And this is really just a proactive strategy to make sure that as soon as you're getting your vote by mail ballot in the mail, you're returning it as soon as you can, whether that is voting by mail, if you're not comfortable voting by mail, waiting until you could vote in person. And so in Orange County, at least, you guys will be able to start voting 10 days before the election. And so using that as an opportunity to go return your ballot as soon as you can. And again, the big component of this too, with encouraging voters to bank their vote early, is make sure that they know that their vote is going to be protected, which is why we're having a presence in all 58 counties, and we're working really close with Karen to make sure we have poll observers and poll workers in the counties, across the county, et cetera, throughout the entire voting process. And so again, Bank Your Vote, it really is a GOTV type of operation. So this is something that the National Party just branded more recently, but I would say, we're California, we do everything first. So this is something that we've already been doing for quite some time. So we're going to continue to encourage people to get out and vote early. And we're going to do this through an aggressive door-to-door operation, through a phone banking operation. We'll also be pushing Bank Your Vote through digital, through mail, through texting programs. Our big goal is to make sure that there's no stone unturned. And a key component of this as well will actually be running an aggressive ballot harvesting effort in California. And so ballot harvesting really does provide us a very unique opportunity for Republicans to increase turnout in those targeted legislative races, targeted congressional races, where we only win by a few hundred or a few thousand votes. For example, in Assemblyman Greg Wallace's district down in the Coachella Valley, we won by 85 votes, right? We lost a state Senate seat by only 12 votes, or we won Congressman John Duarte's race last cycle by 564 votes. Or again, another example, in 2020, Congressman Mike Garcia won by 333 votes. And so our races, as you guys know, are historically very close. So ballot harvesting does give us an opportunity to increase turnout and get those Republicans who otherwise weren't going to cast their ballot an opportunity to vote. What I would say, though, is I think we would all agree that if we could, and if we had a Republican state legislative body, we would not have ballot harvesting, right? Ballot harvesting is not a good thing, but unfortunately it is something that is legal in the state of California. So we have to make sure that we are doing it, because again, the Democrats are actually doing it as well. And they started doing ballot harvesting in 2018. In that cycle, we actually had lost 7 seats. We lost 7 Republican seats, and in part that was because of ballot harvesting. And since then, when Chairwoman Patterson was elected in 2019, we've taken such a proactive and a leadership role in ensuring that we are running that ballot harvesting program, and that Republicans are entrusting us to return it on their behalf to the county elections office. And to run this ballot harvesting program. This isn't something that you can start 30 days before an election. This is something that we've been conducting and we've been doing for quite some time. We're doing it every single month, making sure that we're going and talking to voters, that they know who we are, that we're a friendly face to them. And really, again, the efforts that we did on ballot harvesting in 2020 and 2022 did make the difference in carrying those 5 seats over the finish line. And again, when you have a 2-seat majority, we can obviously, by the numbers, say that we helped pick up the House, and we're going to help hold the House this upcoming cycle. And in addition to our ballot harvesting program that we'll be running too, we'll be doing a lot of different other programs, like engaging with the Latino community, with the APA community. And we've actually opened up 4 different community centers across California that will be working to also run election integrity operations out of, but also ballot harvesting operations, bank your vote operations, and just overall get out the vote to help carry our candidates over the finish line. In 2021 and 22, the RNC invested in 3 community centers in Congresswoman Michelle Steele's district, Congressman David Valadeo, and Mike Garcia's district. And then actually earlier last year, we invested in a 4th community center for Congressman John Duarte. And we're actually looking to open up another office pretty short here. So we're really excited about these community centers. They really are unlike typical field offices, and they really help us focus on building relationships with different ethnic communities. And we have at our community centers different activities, like we have Tai Chi classes, we have line dancing classes, we have phone-based civic lessons, potlucks, different roundtables. So these are going to be a really crucial and really important part of our operation to make sure that Republicans are turning out for our candidates, because we want to show up in these communities that maybe we have never been before, and start having those conversations about what our party is doing, what Republicans stand for, taking no vote for granted. And our efforts really have paid off in those 3 that we had last cycle. And then also too, just to touch briefly on voter registration, and I promise I'll stop talking soon. But again, voter registration is going to be really important for us, especially targeting no party preference voters or other affiliation voters that have conservative leanings, or maybe they were previously registered Republicans. And so, as some of you may not know, but I'm sure most of you do, California actually has a closed presidential primary. So we have to, if you're a no party preference or other affiliation, if you want to vote for a Republican presidential candidate, you actually have to be a registered Republican. And so I don't know if you guys have seen those last 2 voter registration reports that actually have come out from the California Secretary of State. But those reports are really showing that Republicans have a better message. And we are hard at work, and voters across the state, obviously, but I'm sure across the nation too, are so tired of Joe Biden's America, with the high gas prices, inflation, the open border, everything that is happening right now. That is really being reflected in those voter registration reports that have come out. So there was a report that came out in February, and then there was one that came out in October of 2023, and we actually added almost 50,000 new Republicans to onto our side. And so we were actually, from the October report, we increased our Republican vote share in 38 out of 58 counties. And so there was a report that actually came out last week, and we're really excited. We gained ground in 56 out of 58 counties since that October report. So if you remember, October report, 30 out of 50, we had an increase. This last report, we had 56 out of 58. And so that was really exciting to see. And we actually also increased our vote share in all 80 assembly seats, 40 Senate seats, and all 52 congressional seats. So that was massive. And we actually added nearly 47,000 new voters, while Democrats actually saw a loss of over 30,000 voters in this last report. So again, this is really because we all have been so hard at work, and we're running that data-driven operation to make sure that we are re-registering voters to vote Republican, and we're telling them that, hey, we have a closed presidential primary. You're going to help us determine who will replace Joe Biden in the White House. You need to re-register. And also in California, we're on Super Tuesday, our primary election, and we actually hold 169 delegates. And so we matter in the state of California, and that's really what our message has been geared towards. And I'm sure Ryan could touch on it further, but the OCGOP has been running a voter registration reclamation program, and they've seen so many good new registrations come out of that. And again, that's just contacting former Republicans, now MPPs, and trying to bring them back home with messaging about the importance of our primary election. And just a little bit about the past election cycle and some of the things that we've been really working on, or just our overall infrastructure too. So we actually established in 2021 a election integrity committee that was focused and was propped during the recall election. And so our election integrity committee is actually overseen by Randy Burholtz, who is currently our secretary, and also Harmeet Dillon, as I said, who's our RNC National Committee woman. And then we have 3 other individuals who sit on that committee, but that's our committee as a whole. And we've asked all 58 county chairs to appoint a county election integrity officer who works every day with me, with our legal counsel, to make sure they're taking that strategy and those 3 main objectives that I mentioned earlier, and they're applying them to their county. And so that includes obviously recruiting, training, and shifting, help us identify litigation opportunities, and just track everything that we're doing so we can make sure that we have a presence throughout the entire voting process, because we want voters to know that, hey, your vote is safe, it is going to be counted, because we have bodies, not only as poll workers, but as poll observers too, who understand the process. So that's something that we've been really working on. In 2020, we actually had 60% of the state of California be watched by attorneys. And then in the 2021 recall and then the 2022 general, we actually increased that number to about like 96% of the state being covered by an attorney, by a staff member, and by volunteers. So again, having attorneys on the ground is such a top priority, because we want to make sure people know that we are there, we are present. And another thing that we actually did to help increase more confidence in the voting process, we actually created an election integrity hub and a hotline number where voters can find more information about the election. They could track their ballot, see a voter guide, and they can actually file an online incident report. And so when voters are seeing issues that are happening and they may not know what to do, hey, well, I will give you a phone number and you could call us, and we have attorneys on standby to help solve your problem and help guide you throughout the process on the proper course of action. And if this needs elevation from an attorney to your county elections official, then we will have the resources and the manpower to do that. So, and I could actually put it in the chat also, but it's caelectionintegrity.org. And so this is where volunteers can visit, like I said, find more information about the election. They could actually sign up for a training. And so we've been running, we've actually done up to like 40 just online, but we have almost every other day, if not, it will be every day when we get close to the primary, but we're doing trainings on how to do poll observing. What does the application process look like for applying to become a poll worker? Or even too, we're just doing trainings on voter education. What's going to be on the ballot? What does this look like? What's the top 2 primary system look like? Why do we have the top 2 primary? So we're doing a lot of different trainings, and we just want to make sure that we're giving people as many resources and information, as much information as possible. And I will kind of close with this. Each and every one of you are going to play such a crucial role in what we do from the California Republican Party. You guys are going to help us register new voters, and obviously at the end of the day, you're going to help us, and we're going to help you guys. We want to elect Republicans to office. And also one thing too, it's so crucial that we're all working together, because we really need to safeguard our elections and then also identify any litigation opportunities, right? That's what poll observers really do on the ground. They're just not mere poll observers, but they're really strategic partners. And everyone on the ground who will be serving as poll observers, they really are helping us preserve the integrity of our democratic process. So this is going to be so crucial. And we really need a lot of bodies on the ground to help us do this. And also to just beyond observation, a lot of the data, a lot of the issues that we're identifying and we're seeing on the ground, they really do help us, and they provide a lot of essential insights that will be helpful if our legal team needs to do any litigation. So everything that volunteers are doing are going to be so crucial to our overall success of our program. And with that, I just want to thank all of you guys for everything that you have done and everything that you will do in ensuring that we do have safe and secure elections. And of course, at the end of the day, helping elect more Republicans to office. And so with that, I will go ahead and close. Do we have any questions? And I know I talk a lot. I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm sorry, Karen. But yeah, that is all I got. And I can look through the chat as well. So it's actually, I'll put it in the chat, caelectionintegrity.org. Perfect.
So do you want me to pick up from there, guys? Yes? Okay, absolutely. So my name is Ryan May again, and I work for the Republican Party here in Orange County. I'm the field director, so I deal with a lot of hands-on grassroots in the field work. And I think what I'm most excited for to talk about today is ways that we can be creative when it comes to election integrity and to winning elections in California. If you've ever been to our office in Orange County, it's just three guys and we sit around this big conference room table and we just talk about ideas all day long about, crazy stuff, small stuff. And I just think it's important to have the conversations, to ask the questions, to see what works, what doesn't, and kind of learn from it. So I'll talk a little bit about what Krista touched on with our registering independence, but I just want to give an example of something creative that's not super over the top, very small, but has a huge effect on the elections here in Orange County, and they could across the state as well. We think, there's a lot of hesitancy from Republicans to turn in ballots. Our office is about a 5-minute drive from our registrar of voters office right down the street, right? But if we just sent out one email or one text message to Republicans saying, we're holding an open house at our office here in Tustin, we'll do it for 12 hours, come bring your ballots. One email blast like that will get 400 Republicans in the door, we get their ballots in our hands, and they're comfortable giving it to us, but they're not comfortable driving 5 minutes to turn it in to the registrar of voters office themselves, right? So I think that says a lot about our voters. It says a lot about the brand of the party. And I think, it's just a simple way to get ballots in hands and get them in early. A lot of these people that come in, they tell us they either wouldn't have voted or they would have voted much later or waited till they could have voted somewhere in person. So if you guys can be creative about places where people can gather, turn in ballots in person, Carl DeMaio down in San Diego does a good job with his ballots, beers, and barbecue collection process. So being creative is something we take pride in here, and a way that we've been kind of tackling election integrity. We see, long-term solutions and we see short-term solutions. And Karen hit it on the head, and so did Krista. The only real long-term solution to election integrity in California is to elect more Republicans in Sacramento. First, just to break the super majority, right? So that there's debate, so that there is another side being told, and these people aren't going unchecked, and then building our way to getting back in the majority and restoring some of the sanity here. But there are little things that we can do along the way. And what we've discovered, we call it our voter reclamation plan here in California, just because having a nice name, helps with marketing and everything like that. But essentially what it is we're finding people that left the party since 2016. They were Republicans. Now they're no party preference voters. And what we discovered in doing that is that almost half of those 27,000 voters, 13,000 of them were re-registered at the DMV, right? So they were Republicans. They go to the DMV to change their address, and now they're a no party preference voter. And if you're not familiar with motor voter in California, it's a very, very sneaky, subtle way that the Democrats try and build their voter rolls, or at least decrease ours. And if you're not conscious of it, if you're not reading every question carefully, you very well could check a box that says you want to change your party preference, and it will automatically re-register you as a no party preference. So something we're doing to not only build a team of Republicans, but to secure our election is reach out to those people that were changed, make sure they did it consciously, and if not, re-register them. We've seen great success in it. Since we've started, we've had 12,000 new Republicans register in California, and about 4,000 of those are people that our volunteers connected with personally. So just a little bit of effort, it goes a long way. Voter registration is something that we're taking very serious this year. Since 1980, the late 1980s, there's been a bleed in California, or sorry, in Orange County, where every year since the late 1980s, there's been more Democrats registering in Orange County than Republicans. This is the first year, 2023, was the first year that we have stopped that bleed and actually registered more Republicans again in Orange County, right? So it's a tremendous feat, and the trend is all across California. And it comes from putting in a little bit more effort, putting in a little more creativity, while keeping some of our same traditional forms of voter registration and everything like that. If you look at my wall behind us, you see we're the Tom Brady of the Orange County Fair here. We are registering voters at the fair. We're at all these events, but we're also reaching out to no party preference voters, finding out who they plan to support in the election, because there are a good amount of these people that plan to vote for Donald Trump, but won't be able to in the March primary, or they want to vote for Nikki Haley, but they won't be able to. So getting information about these people, following up with them on digital media, Facebook, Instagram, making sure these people get our message helps grow the Republican base, expand the amount of people we can talk to as the Republican Party. And yeah, and it gives us really good information for the future. The CRP, Krista and her team, they have a great data team with Cole Patterson as their leader. And he's been really crucial, helping us get all of these lists, contact all these people. If you wanted to reach out to them and your central committee wants to get a list of people that got re-registered at the DMV and are now no party preference voters, you guys could get that list. You volunteers could start calling them, and you will be surprised. We have about a 35 to 40% success rate just by calling these people and getting them to flip back. So it's real, just a little bit more effort, but a little bit more focused, a little bit more targeted, and we see great results. And that's ultimately how we're going to take back California, because it's how we're taking back Orange County. We have a Democrat advantage of 4.5 percentage points in Orange County, 80,000 more Democrats than Republicans. But in 2022, we turned out 2.5% more Republicans. There was 125,000 voter swing in our direction. So we just have to be a little bit more serious about registering voters. How do you find the NPP and independent voter registrations? If you and your central committee in your county contact Cole Patterson, Krista, and the data team, they have all kinds of data on these no party preference voters. And I would just recommend looking for people that registered at the DMV, right? And you'll be surprised how many of your neighbors are on there, how many people that you know personally that voted for Trump 2 times, plan to do it a 3rd time, but somehow they're not a registered Republican, right? The numbers will shock you. So I'm happy to take more questions as we go through. I'll pass it over to Karen here. Karen does a great job. She is, the greatest volunteer that we have. She's a great asset. She is every day, in the middle of it. She's dealing with, Republicans that all they want to do is complain, and she turns them into hardcore volunteers that are actually getting in the mud, which is a remarkable thing. It's like mining gold. So I'll let Karen talk a little bit about what she sees on the ground in her day-to-day.
Well, thank you. So, I did Ryan's program, and I suggest everybody sign up to do it. I had about 60 people in my area, and Yorba Linda is supposedly hardcore Republican. And of those who I could contact, and I just called, I didn't knock on doors, but the ones who I I spoke to, about 50% didn't know that they got switched when they went to renew their license at the DMV. So it is something that's important. Even some of my volunteers who think that they know it all thought that they could switch parties so that the Republican Party noticed they're gone, I guess. I don't know. And still vote in our primary. And so there is a little information out there that we need to have cleared up. A little bit about what Ryan was talking about with the people who want to complain. Everybody saw 2,000 mules, and it was outrageous. I 100% believe in election fraud and ballot box stuffing and the whole 9 yards. And the only difference is in California, that's legal. So the chances are that you could be finding me harvesting ballots and stuffing them into a drop box, which I would never do. But it's legal. So anyhow, so we can only do what we can do. And what I can do is train you in the election law, get you ready to observe at a vote center, get you ready to observe at the registrar of voters. And then if you're so busy you can't do anything and you only have 10 minutes, I'll assign you a Dropbox just to make sure that it's locked on election night. And that is important because we don't want people voting after the election's closed. And I might run through this really quick. Can I share my screen? Maybe I don't need to.
Hold on a moment.
You can if you want, Karen. Sherry can set you up for that.
Okay, it's not a big deal because I can read it as well.
Just give me a sec here, Karen.
Okay.
And while we're waiting for that, just so everybody knows, there'll be time for questions when Karen's done speaking.
Thanks. Okay,
And Karen,
can you see my screen?
well, you need to share screen. You need to click where it says share screen
Hang on.
on your own screen. You see the green button
Yeah.
down? Okay. Just click that and then choose there you go.
Stupid thing.
We can see it now.
You can see it, but you can see the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see the whole thing. It's okay. So we were called election integrity, and now we're protect the vote. And I think that that's better, a better name and more apt to what we're really doing. And I am the election integrity officer. I saw Judy Reese is in the audience in San Diego, election integrity officer. And what we do is recruit, train, and schedule volunteers to observe at the vote centers, ROV, and drop boxes. I'm actually going to crash the registrar of Orange County and open house 7. And so they'll tell you what they want you to know, and then I'll tell you what I want you to know. So, and that's on the 7th. You can send me an email if you want to meet. And so I've met a few times with the registrar of voters talking about things that I thought would help our elections. And then I did this a couple days ago and it's actually like a week until the ballots are mailed out. So just in me watching at the ROV, I noticed a discrepancy in the duplication process, and the military voters were they're emailed, or I don't even know how they get their ballots. I guess via email. And they were sent the incorrect ballots to vote on in the 2022 election. And so they had the ballot that the service member sent back, and that Baxter emailed back, and then they have to put it onto another ballot so that it can go through the scanner. And it caught my interest because one of my friends who is running for Congress got a vote, and when they went to duplicate it onto the ballot, that wasn't the choice. And I'm not exactly sure of what happened, but I think that it was due to the redistricting. I don't know. Anyhow, so we have attorneys, as Krista said, and I was able to tell the attorneys what I had seen, and they were able to resolve it with the ROV. I'm not 100% sure if it took any court or not, but it felt good because I want to make sure that everyone's vote counted. So the military were actually sent the correct ballots. And then I thought that it would be a good idea to take the ballots that get mailed from home or to your home, and you fill them out and then walk them in. And I thought it would save a tree or save some time or something. And so one of our assembly, not ours, a Democrat assemblywoman, I guess she thought that that was a good idea as well, because she wrote a bill and it turned into law that the ballots that go to your home, you can take that into the vote. We're in Orange County, we're a voter's choice county, as opposed to a traditional county. Traditional counties, you'd be voting in somebody's garage, but we go to vote centers with customer service representatives. So anyhow, I thought that it was a good idea, and it is a good idea because it does save time and it does save a tree. And any mistakes that the voter made, for instance, we're voting, I'm admitting people since I'm the host. We're voting on the, now I lost my place, sorry. So we're voting on the central committee. So there's 6 people in Orange County that we have to choose from. And in my district, we have like 22 people running for the Republican Central Committee. So if somebody voted 7 and they took that ballot and they tried to put it through the scanner would out and tell the voter that there was a mistake. It's bad because if there's any shenanigans going on, the signature verification process went out the window. And what I mean by that is, if I wanted to take my neighbor's ballot out of her mailbox and walk it, vote it for her, all the information that I need to vote that ballot is on the envelope. And so I don't know, I think that it's something for us to watch for. And then another solution that I did work out with my ROV, there was just one doing the adjudication process. And the adjudication process happens when a voter goes and scribbles things out and draws arrows and writes things in and says yes, no, whatever they do. And yes, they are very creative. And it was just one guy on a machine with somebody's ballot figuring out what that vote intention was. And so I asked, can we please at least 2 people watching that? And so they decided that yes, 2 people can, we'll have 2 people watching it, and it's not because you asked, because it's a good idea. So I'm still taking credit. So Krista alluded a little bit to this. I get asked all the time, what's the Republican Party doing? Well, I've been busy for a year and a half, working on things. But a lot of people don't know that in 1982, the DNC brought a lawsuit. I think it was in Long Island. And so in order to settle a voter intimidation lawsuit, the Republicans entered into a consent decree that said that we would not partake in any attempt to help to prevent voter fraud unless we got court approval in advance. And so quite a few times they went to the court and asked if they could get involved as a national party, and it was always rejected. It finally ended in about 2018, and the only way it ended is that the judge died. And then it was assigned a new judge who led us. And then we were able to start participating in the next election cycle. Okay, this was already touched on, but it's really important. The primaries on March 5th, and you have to be a Republican, registered Republican, in order to vote for any of the Central Committee members or for the Republican presidential candidate. And they have to re-register by the 20th of February. If they don't, they can still register and vote, but it will be on a provisional conditional ballot. So I'm looking for people in Orange County. Judy needs people in San Diego, and God bless her, they have Dominion. And I think that we're a little bit more blessed. We use Heart in Orange County. But we need you to observe at your vote centers, or if your precinct voting area, traditional voting, observe there as well. And what I tell my volunteers to do, and I'm not going to go into everything right now, but they do need to stand where you can hear the interaction between the person who greets the voter and the employee, and just to make sure that the voter is the one who's giving all of the information to the employee, and that the employee is not just pulling up voters out of a hat. So that's really important. At the vote centers, if you go in the first day and you're the first voter, and I'm not 100% sure if this the precinct model counties or not, but they need to make sure the first voter goes in, and the employees have to show them that the machines are up and running, the printers are running, the e-poll book is online, and that the scanner is working, and they'll print out a little receipt, and it should have 0, because it just opened and nobody's cast a vote yet. We have Krista calls them 10 days, I call them 11 days. So whatever fits your schedule, and how long fits your schedule. I don't like to go into the vote centers for too long unless something's really interesting going on. But if you can go the first day and be the first voter, and then whatever fits your schedule, there's so many hours to cover that even if you could pop in and just take a peek, that's very helpful as well. Election day, and I'm not expecting anyone to stay from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., but we do want people in the vote centers watching on election day, and particularly at closing, make sure that there's somebody closing off the line at 8 p.m. Make sure that it's not a 4-hour wait to vote, things like that. And then if you go to your registrar, I saw some people that they were in LA County, and all I can do is pray for you, because we have one office that actually prints our ballots and does everything. And LA County has 3 separate locations where ballots are processed. So it's really important to observe at the ROV. It's really interesting. I actually worked on the recall of Gascon inside the registrar's office in Norwalk. And so I got a little taste into how shady they are. They do things a lot different than I would expect. So, and then I'm not sure, there was a big office behind a big glass wall, and I'm not sure if their observers have to outside of that or not, but hopefully not. The registrar of voters handles all of the drop box and mail in and ballots that are handed in. Anything that comes in an envelope or comes faxed from the military, emailed, however they are. The V drives, which is the tally on the from the scanners, those get driven in on election night and are uploaded. So when you see the polls closing and you see the number of votes cast, those are all of the ROV processed mail-in ballots that have been processed up to that time. And then through the night, when you see the numbers change, those are from the vote centers as they're being dropped off. Our registrar of voters in Orange County is open starting, I think, February 6th. And like I said, they're having open house on the 7th. And so it's important to sit there and watch the signature verification process, even though the laws in California make it almost impossible for us to question we can question the procedure, but we can't say, hey, that doesn't match, because of the way that the law is written. Watching the duplication process, and that's any ballot that comes in that is unable to be scanned. And people mark their ballots in crayon, put stickers on, you know, all sorts of things that you wouldn't believe. And so any of those ballots that aren't going to be able to be run through the scanner will need to be duplicated. And like I said, I did catch some things and we were able to save the military vote because I was there watching and I didn't even know what I was looking at. The adjudication process is also something that's that needs to be looked at, to be watched, because that's trying to figure out the intent of the voter. And you know, we want to make sure that the voters' wishes are being cast. So in Orange County, there was almost 18,000 ballots that had to be sent for duplication in 2022. And then I'm going to talk really quickly about remote access ballots. So in the 2022 election, the remote access ballots that we received back in Orange County was 845. So the Democrats passed another law that the remote access ballot really was meant for somebody who is unable to get out of their house for some reason, and a disability, or you know, whatever their issue is, and that they could print out the ballot in their living room, and it even prints out an envelope, and they can staple that and send it away. So now the new law says anybody can do it. So I think that it's important that we just keep our eye on how many remote access ballots come in. And then that's something that, because it's printed at home, it's not on a regular ballot. So that's got to go through the signature verification process and the duplication process. It's good. It's good for people who need to use it. It helps Seal Beach special election because people didn't know that there was an election going on and they just took their ballot and tossed it out. And so the volunteers in Seal Beach were able to help them log on and print it out and take the ballot in so that that person was able to actually cast a vote. So also I talked a little bit about the drop boxes. Do you know who paid for the drop boxes in Orange County? I'm not sure about the other counties. But we got 4 million in Zucker bucks to install our 100 and I'm not sure if it's 122 or 123 drop boxes in Orange County. They are permanent. It's very easy to watch and mildly amusing to watch. So if you can't do anything else, at least go and sit in front of a drop box, get there like at 7:55, make sure that there's workers there, and make sure that at 8 o'clock the little bar drops down so that nobody can put anything else in. And if you stay a few minutes longer, you'll probably see people running up and trying to deposit after 8. And you're just hoping a little bit that it's not a Republican ballot. So if you see the workers there with their orange bags, don't be suspicious. They have flashlights and vests and things like that. They're not full of ballots. One of my friends called me and said, "Oh my gosh." And so I didn't take that picture at the ROV. But the orange bags really are full of supplies. So we do provide training. I think Donna asked in the chat, I will be doing Zooms. I will be going to the ROV, Registrar of Voters. If you can't make that, then starting a couple weeks before the election, I will be popping in to the ROV. And if you want to make an appointment with me, I can meet you there and train you. So Ryan talked about the voter reclamation. You all know about the bank your vote. We talked about the ballot harvesting, and it's my belief that as soon as Republicans get better than Democrats at doing it, it will be made illegal. We really do have attorneys and staff to help with any voter issues that might arise. You can get involved with your local county. We have a good county central committee. Like I said, we have 22 people just in my assembly district running for the central committee. So, and only 6 will make it. So we have a really active central committee, and I advise all of you, no matter where you are, to check it out. And sign up to get their newsletters. I think that it's important so that you know what's going on in your area. The important websites, Orange County, OCGOP. If anybody needs that, email me, and it's electionintegrityoc@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. And if you scan my photo or the QR code, it will come up on your phone with my contact information. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. Did I talk enough?
I think you did a great job, Karen. All 3 of you did a really good job.
Thank
You were so
you.
full of information. I know that we have questions. I've been writing them down as they've been popping up, and some of you have kind of touched on the answers while you've been speaking. Before we
Gretchen,
start,
let me
Nancy and I
mention
start
2
going.
things.
Yeah.
So somebody was talking up in the chat about turning something into the Election Integrity Project, California EIPCA, and they're
Okay.
a good group. I'm not going to say anything negative about them. I think that they do good work, but we have the resources and we have the attorneys, and my goal is to help those people at the moment to make sure that their vote's not disenfranchised. So I would urge you to work with the California Republican Party, because we do have the hotline staffed with attorneys. We have 3 attorneys in Orange County, and they do make a difference. And then the other thing that I want to say is, in the words of Rodney, what was his name? Can't we all just get along? We need to get along. I held a meeting, and I had detractors there, and they're screaming about things that happened 2 years ago. I can only do what I can do. And, you know, I don't write the laws, I just follow them. But it's really important that we have to stick together as Republicans. We might not like everybody, but we do have to get along and act like we're a cohesive unit. Like the Democrats move all in one herd. You know, you literally have Sewell and Fang Fang, and nobody raised any eyebrows. So I really hope that we can all get along, because we're really working towards the same thing. So that's my rant. Sorry, go ahead, Gretchen.
Thanks, Karen. It was Rodney King.
Rodney
Who
King.
could forget? Who
Yeah.
could forget?
Yeah.
First, I thought Rodney Allen Rippey, but that's way too
No.
far back.
No. He was a
So
kid.
yeah. So all right, I'm gonna take a couple of questions, and then Nancy, Sherry, if you can unmute Nancy Wolford, she'll take a couple. Nancy, are you there? Are you ready? I hope she's
I
there
am
and ready.
here and I'm ready.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Okay, so the first question that came up was at the very beginning of Krista's talk is what can be done to abolish the top two primaries? And then they noted we have 10 Republicans on the California ballot for US Senate. So I have a follow-up question to that point, but what can be done to abolish the top two primary?
We need to elect more Republicans. Like, you know, I think Karen put that in the chat, and a lot of the things that are set in place by our election code, a lot of just our overall state ran elections, we need to elect more Republicans so we have real change. And so that's the biggest thing, is we just need to elect more Republicans. I mean, you know, we have 80 state assembly members, we have 18 Republicans represented, we have 40 state senators, we only have 12 Republicans. So the real change needs to start with us, grassroots, boots on the ground, start helping elect more Republicans. And, you know, looking at some of those assembly races, Senate races, and congressionals, we are starting to do that over time, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And fortunately, these are the laws that we have set in place. So we got to do everything in our power to help carry Republicans over. And obviously with the Senate race, where we have a lot of candidates, we got to make sure we get at least one Republican, you know, to proceed into the general, so we're not stuck with two Democrats facing off in November.
Okay. Nancy, do you want to take the next question?
Yeah, I want to ask this question. It's is there a reason why drop boxes cannot be emptied on election day?
They actually can. And I put on the Secretary of State, they actually have a whole set of requirements that each of the counties are supposed to follow. And so they actually are, and I could actually pull this back up and put it back in the chat. They do say that if counties are not able to collect them on election night, basically saying that you can try to the best of your ability from a county to do that. That said, yes, right, they should probably have it chain of custody, have it everyone do that by election night, but they say at least at the latest by the following day, and they actually give a timestamp. And if they're not able to do it by the following day, by the specific time that they've specified in the election code, they actually have to do a written notice to the Secretary of State. But if counties have the capabilities and they're able to do that, then they're obviously encouraging that they do get them on election night. I know in some rural counties, it's probably an issue of the two workers have to go to empty out the boxes, but for them to get there in those more rural areas. But again, that was my long-winded way of saying, if a county has the capabilities to do it on election night, they're encouraging that per code, but the legal maximum is going to be the next day.
Orange County's the next day.
Yeah. And so, and again, the code, how they have always stated, because all counties are so different, right? I think Orange County, you are so lucky with a very good registrar of voters. Most counties are not that lucky. And so they give them this, the Secretary of State will give every county, these are the basic things that you have to follow if you are able to do this before, that's great, but this is like the legal maximum. So some counties you're going to see, it's going to vary from county to county. But again, OC is it's better ROV than most.
We're blessed.
To that same point, are the people that are picking up the ballots out of the ballot boxes, are they ROV employees or are they volunteers? And how do they monitor to make sure those ballots are actually getting back to be counted?
Karen, I saw you
They're
shake your head, but
county.
I'm fairly certain they have to be employees from the counties. I don't think they're going to be, they're going to be workers. And so again, two people have to go take out the ballots, and they have paperwork that they have to complete, and they have to timestamp everything that they're doing. So when they collect the ballots, again, they have to inspect the boxes. And when they get back, they're going to have to return a form specifying everything that was done. Ryan, do you
Can
have
I-
something to add?
Yeah, I would just like to address this question that just came up in the chat about voting early. It's something that is definitely controversial to some people, but from the party's perspective here, what I always tell voters when we encounter them is, if you really care about election integrity, you should be wanting to vote as early as possible in whatever way is most comfortable for you, right?
Mhm.
So if you are insistent upon voting in person, then there are 10-day vote centers that open up. There are 14-day vote centers here in Orange County. And you can vote in person as soon as possible for a lot of reasons. The main one that I think that stands out to me, I put this in the chat earlier, but the earlier you vote, the longer you have to track your ballot to make sure it gets counted, and then counteract any problems along the way. If everybody's waiting until the last day and you turn in your ballots, and then there is some kind of shenanigans or anything like that, you're not going to know until election day itself, with 3 hours left for a ballot to get turned in, and then you're going to be dragging on the process of the election even longer. So make sure we get our ballots in, and then it just helps our candidates out. It helps our campaigns. They'll know who cast a ballot, and the less Republicans they have to worry about that they fear are holding on to ballots, they can use that time to go get gettable voters and win elections. So that's just a little bit of why you should vote early.
I think that's exactly right. I think Ryan hit it just right on the head. And I always think back to the 2022 election. If you guys remember, I know specifically in Orange County, it started raining and it was pouring. And in Congresswoman Young Kim's district, I remember getting calls from her campaign manager saying, hey, we have a handful of voters who are calling us. They are trapped because flooding and they can't get out and return their ballot. And so there's a lot of unforeseen issues that could arise on election day. So we want to make sure, if you could get in, vote in person, vote early, then use that, because again, there's some things that pop up that we just can't see. And one thing too, I do want to know is, obviously we're pushing this Bank Your Vote program. Bank Your Vote is not encouraging or necessarily forcing people to vote by mail. It's just, as soon as you get your ballot, vote whatever you're most comfortable with. And in Voters Choice Act, so VCA counties, you'll have 10 days of early voting, and using that as an opportunity to go and get your ballot in.
So there's a comment here about, and I've heard this too, there's different factions within the Republican Party that, like you guys are saying, vote early and get it in, and you've given some good reasons for doing that. But there are other factions that say wait till the election day to vote. So there's kind of this two sides of the argument, and it's a little bit hard to know what's, some of us who are traditionalists and like to actually vote in person on voting day at the polling place. It's really hard to know which is the best way to go with that.
Can
So
I
is
answer?
there, yeah, go ahead.
Did you see what happened with the Arizona general election in Kari Lake? And the Republicans all waited until election day to vote, because that's what we do. And they hid the ink, or you know, whatever happened, they ran out of ink. The printers got recalibrated so it wouldn't read, it wouldn't scan correctly. So I want everybody to be able to vote however they want to vote. But if the vote centers are open, I say 11 days. Krista says 10. So if they're open, go in early, because what's going to happen, I'm not going to be able to help you if at 8 o'clock, they said, sorry, you already voted. And we know that that's happened in Orange County as well. The earlier you vote, the more time we have to resolve any issues. So I don't
So
care
you're
how
saying,
you
vote, just vote. Yeah, you're saying that voting early gives you more time to
Yeah,
react to
Rectify.
shenanigans.
yeah.
Yeah.
If
And-
there's an issue.
And I think it's important to, if you really did want early voting to go away, the best way that we could do it is to be better at it than the Democrats. Once it stops serving their purposes, it will be gone faster than you can imagine. That
Yeah,
is
That's
how
what
the
Karen
system
said
works.
earlier, yeah.
It's true. The state party we were doing ballot harvesting in 2020. They sued us because we were doing it better than they were. And because we got sued now, they actually put more laws in place with ballot harvesting that were previously never there. It's always been gray as it is. I think we would all agree with that. But now, because again, we did something that they were not doing and arguably much, much better, and we found smarter and better ways to do it. We literally were sued over our ballot collection program,
Did
but they had to
drop
drop
it?
the lawsuit because the Democrats were doing the same exact thing.
Okay, I have a question here that somebody asked. Can you explain the Protect the Vote Academy?
Yeah. So last Thursday we held it was basically, I'm calling them a training boot camp. So we held a day of training. We had 7 different topics. We had National Committee Woman Hermit Dillon on that program, and we just went through the Protect Your Vote program, which is like I've been saying, it's just our election integrity operation. We just are now rebranding it Protect Your Vote. We went through poll observing, poll working. We went through ballot harvesting. We also went through ballot curing. So we just heard through different training topics and had different presenters come online to talk to volunteers about the great things that our program is doing.
Okay, all right, thank you. Nancy, you want to go?
Yeah, this is kind of, well, it has to do with elections, but I was just wondering, is there going to be any kind of a bounty with California GOP on registration?
Yeah, so we have had an ongoing bounty program since 2019. It's always stayed in place. According to our controller, for compliance reasons, we can only actually send a check to the local county Republican parties. So we're asking the county parties to partner with different Republican groups and organizations if they want to get compensation for the voter registration efforts that they're doing in their county. So the bounty directly goes to the central committee, but they could disperse it from there to the different Republican organizations.
Okay, and is that per registration? Is that a certain amount that is given?
So for every new Republican registration or re-registration from interstate voters, will compensate $375 to $625, and the price varies because on voter registration forms, email and phone number are actually not required fields. So if we collect a registration without either phone or email, you'll get that base $375. Then it goes to $5 if you include phone or email, and then the $625 if you include both pieces of information.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It can add,
I
it can add
know.
up.
I'm
It
gonna
can
do
add
this.
up.
It
can add up.
does. We were actually looking through OCGOPs, and it's gonna be a big check because they're registering so many voters. So it's awesome. Yeah, it definitely adds up.
So somebody asked a question, how do you find the NPP or the independent voter registration?
Yeah.
So we, as Ryan was mentioning, our data department, we have a data warehouse that we call GOP Data Center. And so we directly collect from all of the county registrar voters. We're purchasing data to make sure that we have everyone's voter record. And so we store that all inside GOP Data Center. So whenever a county party, whenever a campaign, I believe we also give access to Republican groups and organizations as long as you're chartered with the Republican Party, but you have access to that data. And you can get really creative with it when you're doing voter registration programs. So I know, for example, I believe Ryan and their team actually looked at former Republicans now registered as no party preference, but have participated in, for example, in one of the 2 last presidential elections, or maybe they also re-registered to vote at the DMV. So there's things like that you could get, and you could get pretty specific on targeting inside of GOP Data Center.
Nancy?
This is another one, a little different than the way we've been going here, but I was just curious, are there talks about the California GOP opening their regular campaign headquarters around California?
So we do have them across California. Right now, we're starting to get them back up online. So we actually already have 9 offices spread throughout California, and we are continuing to add. So if there are any specific locations that anyone is interested in us opening up an office, we're always happy to consider that. Right now, we do have them spread out through those targeted legislative and targeted federal races that will really make or break the House majority. So that's where we're seeing most of our offices currently right now. That said, if there's a specific area, we're always happy to advocate for additional resources and additional offices.
Thank you.
Okay. There was a question, what's the difference between duplication and adjudication?
Do you want me to take that?
You could take it, but I could chime in if you miss anything.
Okay, so duplication's a ballot that was emailed in or was done with crayon or highlighter, and it won't scan, so it needs to go onto a ballot that using black or blue ink, and onto a ballot that can be scanned.
Can I jump in real quick too?
Go
So,
ahead.
and this is really like anytime a ballot gets just gets ruined for whatever reason. So it could be maybe they used
The
a
rain.
Sharpie, a pen, whatever it is, but or maybe the ballot gets spoiled, or if it gets messed up during transportation. So all it really is, to kind of like sum it up, is they just have to recreate the new ballot because it's not being it can't be read by the machine. So it's just taking an exact copy of what it already was. And then adjudication, sorry, Karen, I'm starting to
No,
talk.
go ahead.
So adjudication, I'll use an example for when adjudication would occur. So obviously we know when you're voting for Congress or Assembly, Senate, whatever it is, you could only vote for one candidate, right? So there are sometimes scenarios, it's called an overvote. So a candidate will actually bubble it in 2 candidates. And then if they realize, oh no, I forgot I can't vote for 2 candidates, they'll do a strike through or maybe put oops on it. And so then they would have to remake or adjudicate. So again, it's just remaking that ballot so they could get it through the scanners.
That's a ballot that gets kicked out
Mhm.
of the scanning process, and the scanner turns the problem area red. And so the person doing the adjudications looking at the original ballot, and it's highlighted in red that there is a problem here. And the person doing the adjudication If it's clear that they wanted to vote for one candidate and accidentally marked the 2 boxes and scribbled it out in the whole 9 yards and drew the arrows, they can take the, they can remove the vote from the wrong candidate and just leave the one for the correct one and figure out that voter's intention. And it should be clear.
Okay, thanks, Karen. There is, I'm gonna kind of combine 2 questions that just came in separately, but one of them is there, do you know off the top of your head, Krista, is there a voter camp, what did they ask? Hold on, I just lost it. Any GOP offices in LA County? And then somebody else asked, do you still need to show proof of vaccination to work the polls in LA County?
So we have an office right now. We currently have one, and that one's in Palmdale, and that one is a Latino community center, and that helps Congressman Mike Garcia and then the legislative candidates. So right now it's in Palmdale.
Okay, and do you know about vaccination? Do you have to show proof of vaccination? I don't think they're doing that anymore, are they?
I don't think they're doing that anymore either.
And then somebody asked, do you have to work all day or all 10 hours? And you guys already answered that. And the answer was no, they'll take whatever time you can
Whatever
give.
you could give us, we are willing to
Yeah.
take.
So if I
Yeah.
run to the ROV, if I go at 10:15, when I know that they're back from their break, I'll leave at noon because I'm not hanging around there for an hour. So I'll go in for 1.5 hour, 2 hour stints, here and there. And the same thing with the vote centers, unless something's, going on and it's really busy, just going in and letting them know that we're watching, helps.
You know, this is such a huge subject and so important and so close to our hearts. We could go on till midnight. I know we could.
We couldn't, it's my bedtime.
I know.
Okay.
I was telling Karen I'm running on 2 hours of sleep right now. I flew in from DC this morning.
Oh
Oh,
my
no.
goodness. Well, we want to thank you guys, Krista and Ryan and Karen, and I want to thank Gretchen and Nancy for hosting this. We all want more. You know how they say, leave them wanting more? Well, we are wanting more, but we don't absolutely want to take up all the time because we promised you 8 o'clock, and we promised all of our attendees registered tonight, and they've certainly gotten a full 1.5 hours worth of information. I have been taking notes here. I've got a big thick thing of notes, so I just so appreciate all of you. Gretchen, did you want to say anything before we signed off about anything coming up? And Nancy?
Be sure you all go on www.gsrw.org.
Or
No, huh? I didn't correct it last time I said it.
Yeah.
Go to our website to register for the Evelyn Nunez Jones
Yes.
Yes.
event on this
Conversation.
coming Saturday morning, this coming
Conversation.
Saturday at 9 a.m.
Yes.
Yes,
Sure you
it's going
register
to,
for
it's going to
that.
be great, and I wish everybody that's on this call would just go right over and sign up for it. We only have a couple of days, but this is going to be amazing. This is Derek Silver. He is the National Coalition Chair or Director for President Donald J. Trump, and also Evelyn Nunez Jones. She's very instrumental in a lot of stuff, and a great fundraiser for President Trump. And it's, they're going to help us get involved over there as well. So please, everybody, just take the few minutes, gsrw.org, and register for Saturday's event. Thank you.
It's a rare opportunity but it's worth getting up for. We have not had one like this at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Now, maybe that's going to work out great for a lot of you. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't, please set your alarm and make it work out, because it's very rare that we get this kind of an insight into any presidential candidate. But anyway, I just want
For
to.
those of you that,
Nope, I'm done.
I'm sorry, Jen. I just also wanted to say, for those of you that have any questions that we didn't get to tonight, because a bunch of comments came in right at the end, please don't hesitate to call your county Republican Party, your
Mhm.
county central committee office. Make sure you contact, those people have all the answers. That's all they live, eat, sleep, and breathe, all this stuff all the time. And I know Krista would just love to get thousands more phone calls a day too. So
Awesome. She doesn't need
We're in
sleep.
Orange County. Our office is always open. Come on by.
yeah,
It's
thank
open
you
right
guys.
now.
I appreciate you three doing this. I really, really appreciate it, especially as busy as you are right now at this time. So Janet, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
just have to thank all of you. Pay attention to the emails that come in, because Gretchen and Nancy have a lot more speaker series lined up. It's going to be a very busy year, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. So thank you all so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night,
you.
everybody.
Good
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night.
Thank you.